Welcome to the Right to Reason podcast. It's me, Gigi, Robert's wife. Just so that everybody knows, Robert's been going through a little bit of a health issue. Just recently, we found out he had a blood clot in his leg. A lot of you already know this, but for some of you that don't, I just want to kind of keep you in the loop. So part of this is he's doing great right now. I mean, it's a little bit hard for him to walk around still. He can't sit down for too long and stuff like that. But anywho, it's been a little bit trying for us, but just wanting to let everybody know that he's doing great. His swelling's gone down and he's able to move around a little bit more. He's returning back to work here soon, so don't bother hitting the unsubscribe button. You can still stick with us. We're going to be back to regular schedule very, very soon. In fact, we've got some interesting guests coming up. Robert's always asking me to help out, so I figured today I've smoked just enough to get me feeling right, so I think I'll take a stab at it. So I figured my contribution today was picking out a fun episode for this week. So my selection is a little bit fun. I figured we can take a break from everything that has just been going on lately. The political climate, we've got Corona and everything happening, and it just feels so much right now. So I figured with my selection this week, I would do something fun, light, and honestly, a really great episode. Like, I don't know if y'all remember Rob Montgomery. He's actually one of our patrons, which we super appreciate. Thank you so much, Rob. But a really great episode. He came on the show and they talked about aliens. I don't know if y'all know this about me, but I do believe that we are not alone. Not that it's like full on believe in like gray aliens or anything like that. But I do believe that, you know, our universe is so huge that there are other life forms out there. Maybe they're different than us. Maybe it's just shrubbery on one planet or something. But I mean, I don't think that we are alone. And one of the cool things about this episode we're fixing to share is hearing someone's perspective on how they don't have to be gung-ho, full-on alien crazy. I like the fact that Rob is just kind of saying how he feels, what it kind of goes back and forth of what seems logical, and then what is kind of like, oh, I'll take it with a little bit of grain of salt there. But anywho, it's a great conversation, and I really do enjoy it, especially with the little bit about the pyramids and stuff like that. So I'll go ahead and let y'all guys get started listening. Now, don't you worry, patrons. We're not going to be charging for this episode. We definitely appreciate your support, and I promise that Robert is coming right back around and having some really great interviews, really great debates with some fun people. I hope you enjoy Rob Montgomery with Aliens. You have the right to reason.
Welcome to the Right to Reason podcast. I am your host, Robert Stanley. Today, we are talking about aliens.
It's the Right to Reason podcast.
Within all of our lifetime, though, we're going to understand that there is life on other bodies in the solar system. We're on the verge of things that people have wondered about for millennia. Are we alone?
Water is a key ingredient in life as we know it. And scientists say if you find water, your odds of finding life go up. And it turns out our galaxy is a soggy place. Outside of our solar system, astronomers think there may be many worlds covered by deep oceans. So NASA says our galaxy and our solar system are awash in water, and it's just a matter of time until we find life on another planet.
October 12th, Columbus Day, the Planetary Society activates Meta 2, beginning planet Earth's only continuous all-sky search for extraterrestrial intelligence. Funded exclusively by donations from Planetary Society members, Project Meta was conceived and built by Professor Paul Horowitz of Harvard University. It is capable of scanning more than 8 million radio frequencies simultaneously. For Planetary Society President Carl Sagan, this technical progress is what has made the present era unique.
There's never been a time like that before.
So there is some chance that in the next few decades we will get a signal from some spectacularly distant, spectacularly exotic civilization, and everything on Earth will, as a consequence, change. That is possible.
You have to remember that just because there's something you don't understand doesn't mean the explanation is something extraordinary. They don't go together. You see a light in the sky moving and you can't explain it, that does not mean it's an intelligent alien coming from another planet that's in a flying saucer observing us. These are not equivalent statements. Just say, I don't know what it is. And hang out with the U in the UFO. What does the U stand for? Unidentified. I don't know what it is. You're done. End of conversation.
I'm having trouble trying to sleep.
And what led me to this, the reason I became interested in pursuing that line of inquiry was the Ark of the Covenant, because it seemed to me like a piece of technology that was out of its place in history in the way that it was described. I'm not wishing to put down the spiritual aspects because they are there, but there were definite technological aspects to this device. And then I had to ask myself, well, where could that knowledge have come from? And through Egypt, we then start to find that Egypt itself looks back to an older time. The ancient Egyptians didn't regard themselves as the beginning of their story. They regarded themselves as quite a late point in their story. And they look back to the time of the gods, which they called Zep-Tepi, the first time when there was a golden age. And they speak, and there are texts, the Edfu building texts, which speak of the gods living on an island, a gigantic flood coming. Most of the gods are killed, odd thing to happen to gods. And then the survivors come and settle in Egypt.
Although they might be out there, they've got to have had a real head start on us. The galaxy is pretty much as old as the universe. It's 13 billion years worth of time. So the idea that there are no civilizations arose, 100 million years ago, 200 million years ago, 1 billion years ago. And imagine what they'd be like if they'd survived. I mean, we've been around, we've had science for, let's say, since Newton or Copernicus, 500 years at most. And look what we've done. We've gone beyond the solar system with Voyager. We've walked on the moon. We're about to go to Mars, I would think. So we're about to begin colonizing our own solar system. So we've done that in 500 years. So imagine a million years in the future. So it's one of the arguments often used to say there aren't any civilizations out there in the galaxy. It's called the Fermi paradox. Because if you imagine a civilization that's a million years ahead of us, they should have written their presence across the sky by now.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
If I was the president, and it's unlikely that that is ever going to happen.
You never know.
If I was the president...
It was unlikely that I was going to be president.
The moment I was inaugurated, my hand would it'd still be hot from touching the Bible, and I would immediately race to wherever they have the files about Area 51 and the UFOs, and I'd go through everything to find out what happened.
Right.
Did you do that?
That's why you will not be president. Because that's the first thing that you would do.
The
aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
Now, there are a lot of people that are going to examine your facial expressions here, every twitch, everything, and say, and of course, so did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Because President Clinton said he did go right in, and he did check, and there was nothing.
Well, that's what we're instructed to say.
If you got into the office and you found out something about aliens, if you found out something about UFOs, would you let us know?
Well, I'll tell you, My wife would demand that I let you know.
Is your wife a UFO nut?
No, she's not a UFO nut. It's just, Bernie, what is going on? Do you have any access to the records?
You don't have any access?
I don't. Honestly,
No?
I don't know.
Okay. You let us know, though?
All right, I'll be on the show. We'll announce it on the show. How's
Please.
that?
Hi, I'm Rob Montgomery. I believe in aliens and the right to reason.
This episode of the Right to Reason podcast is brought to you by our patrons and contributors like me. We have all recognized the value of the unrestrained marketplace of ideas and have decided to make a difference. You can make a difference too. Contribute at patreon.com/right and learn more about your right to reason at therighttoreason.com. Your activism is appreciated.
Y'all know me, still the same OG, but I've been low-key, hated on by most these niggas with no cheese, no deals and no G's, no wheels and no keys, no boats, no snowmobiles and no skis. Mad at me cause I can finally afford to provide my family with groceries.
And today we're talking to our top patron, Rob Montgomery. Rob, from the bottom of my heart, man, I just want to tell you thank you so much. I really appreciate all your help and support, dude.
Oh, it's a product that I really believe in.
Yeah, so everybody's heard your name a bunch of times at the end of the show. And tell us a little bit about you. They're probably wondering, who is the enigma that is Rob Montgomery?
Oh, I'm just kind of a...
It's a great hell of an intro, right?
Yeah, I'm just a lowly custodian trying to be a comedy writer.
It's so weird that, like, you're a patron of the show, but you're also big time into, like, alien conspiracy stuff. And that surprised me whenever you told me that, because I was like, what? Like, I figured everybody that listens to the show is, just grumpy skeptics that don't believe in anything. Like, what kind of alien dude are you, first of all? Like, do you think that they're coming down and abducting people and sticking stuff up their asses, or are you like, they probably designed the pyramids and stuff?
Well, I mean, I like to keep an open mind about it. I'm still pretty skeptical about it. Like, I think it's possible, maybe not, but I like to think so. What makes you think that there's some aliens out there and that they would, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, you like Star Talk, right? Oh, yeah. So, like, he says that they wouldn't have anything to do with us. They would probably find us pretty boring. And even if they were looking at us, we probably wouldn't even know it, because it could be from a different dimension or who knows what. Like, the fact that they're able to get through so much of space just to get here means that they're so superior to us, they probably wouldn't even find us interesting. Well, I think they more fear us. Like, they're probably more advanced than we are, but they kind of watched us, like, bomb our own planet with 150 nukes or so. So it's kind of like, we have to go there and see what's going on with that, make sure they don't throw any of those nukes at us.
Come on. They would be so advanced, dude. Like, I don't see, like, we couldn't even get a nuke to them. You're thinking that they're worried because we're advancing quickly, that, like, one day we'll be a threat?
Well, yeah. Like, we have nuclear technology, and instead of, just focusing on the energy, we are literally blowing ourselves up. And if we figure out how to, travel out with that technology, we could be a very destructive force.
One of the things that's kind of spooky about aliens is we say, oh, well, they would probably be, like super benevolent, or maybe they're just like insects or something, and they don't really think the way that we would think. But I always think of it like, well, what if we were aliens to someone else? Like, we would be a horrible destructive force, like humans and spaceships. Like, I don't think we'd be going around like Jean-Luc Picard. I think it would be like this capitalist kind of
it would definitely be more like Avatar, like, hey, you got shiny rocks, we're here to take them. Got any oil?
We would be consuming different things all throughout the universe that we wanted. So if other aliens were like that, then they'd be a major threat. But once again, I don't get it, man. Like, I don't see what reason there is to believe that they've been to our planet. Like, give me some examples of some stuff that kind of got you thinking that way.
I mean, you can go either way with the architecture angle. Like, maybe we're smarter than we give ourselves credit for, and we could figure out how to move these giant stone blocks. So you can't really enter into the court case that, this is really hard, therefore aliens. But there's a lot of weirdness in our history.
Okay, so big stones. Like, we couldn't have just used a bunch of logs. No, you're talking about like the big cubes that we built the pyramids with?
Yeah, I mean, we're learning more about that, and it seems fairly plausible that we could have figured out how to move that stuff, just using the sand.
Yeah, like wet sand or something, or
right. And we kind of have documented evidence that pharaohs were making humans do that.
What about the pyramids makes you think aliens?
My personal theory, I kind of think like we were trying to replicate alien technology
in Egypt.
Yeah, like there's a theory that through hydropower, the pyramids were actually power generators.
How?
Like I don't know about that, but all the other explanations don't really make sense. Like they're obviously not tombs because we didn't find any bodies in there. And besides the fact that there's a whole series of caves that are pharaoh tombs, so why would only like 3 or 4 pharaohs get these crazy buildings and then not even put their bodies in there?
They found Tutankhamun in a pyramid, didn't they? I think they find people in pyramids.
I don't know. I guess I should have researched that a little more closely.
Well, because they were burying their pharaohs with all their money and gold, and then grave robbers would come along and just take it. So they kept making these tombs more and more extravagant. And then finally, they just got to a point where they said, we have to start making this whole maze of death inside a pyramid to try to protect these guys, because they really believed like they were going to the afterlife with all that money. It was like part of their religion to protect them. So whenever they would get robbed, like it was a big deal. Like, oh my God, you've destroyed this person's afterlife, and this was our pharaoh. This was our God. We'll have better crops if we make these pharaohs in the afterlife happy. So like you're hurting our community whenever you rob. We have to stop you from stealing from these pharaohs. Then you get the pyramids. That's what I was always told. But I mean, I get it. It seems like so extravagant that it's a little hard to believe that there wasn't more to it.
Yeah. Like the design doesn't really make sense as a tomb. But,
well, what I was told is they ended up just hiding them, like actually just burying them under the ground and not marking where they were. But at least this is what they were saying in one of the Western Civ classes I was taking, is that there's just all these just billions of dollars worth of treasures and history just buried all over Egypt. They keep trying to find them, but they buried them in places that would be almost impossible to locate. If you build a giant pyramid, all you're doing is getting a lot of attention, so everybody goes to it that wants to rob you. So that's why there's like all sorts of like stuff that could kill you, and it's hard to get in. And so what you think?
Have you ever heard the Emerald Tablets of Thoth?
What's that?
It's a pretty crazy story. The Egyptian government, I guess, is claiming that they have these. I think it's 8 emerald tablets that detail this, what's considered a god, but it maybe aliens. And they've translated 7 of them, and then the claim is that the 8th is still under wraps. They're not releasing that. And the whole story goes that this guy Thoth. No, the claim is that he was a survivor from Atlantis.
Maybe you like the topic more or less, but it doesn't sound like you're actually convinced.
Well, not so much on the ancient alien thing. Like I want to believe because it's it's fun to think about, but
yeah, I love it.
George
I like the topic.
R. Martin said, the truth is either horrible or boring. So the cooler the story is, the more likely it's bullshit.
Yes, unfortunately.
But I mean, from a statistics point of view, like aliens in general, I think it's ridiculous not to believe that there's alien races out there.
Yeah, I mean, the universe is so fucking big.
Right.
And the fact that we started life on this planet so quickly, like immediately after the Earth cools, just life starts popping up everywhere. Like that's an incredible concept to me, because it makes me think that whatever causes abiogenesis, that it's just happening as soon as it can.
Right.
That's just mind-blowing. Like we think of it as rare and special because within the small amount of area that we can travel or see if there's water or life or something like that, we don't see it except on our planet. But yeah,
right.
It's got to be everywhere, dude. There's got to be just crazy wild life forms just all over the universe.
The strongest evidence that I see for the ancient alien idea is like modern science can't explain language. Like according to academia, we shouldn't have developed language as early as we did. So that's kind of where I insert my God of the gap. That maybe aliens did come down and alter our brain. Or, I accept maybe it was just us figuring out how to make fire and cooking our food, increasing our protein intake.
Maybe it was the stoned ape theory. You ever hear that one?
Right. Yeah. Actually, Mudvayne's first album, they put some excerpts from that guy who was talking
Terrence
about
McKenna.
the apes encountering the mushroom.
That's crazy. When I first started this podcast, I used to have a clip of Terrence McKenna in the intro, but the intro was so damn long, and everybody kept telling me like, Rob, cut the intro down. So that's why, like the beginning part that you hear that goes that wah 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 wah. That was actually a full song that I had pulled off of like a free to use music website. I would play the entire song, and through it I would put in little clips. This is like 2.5 years ago. And one of them, it was Terrence McKenna saying, and that corny voice he has, he's like, culture is not your friend. Tell everybody what the stoned ape theory is, just in case they haven't heard of it before, because it's a really cool idea.
Ancient man or Neanderthal, I guess you would say, didn't really have a language. We just communicated with grunts, I guess. And then eventually we encountered a mushroom and then, tested it out to see if we could eat it. And boy, were we in for a shock.
Yeah, like a psilocybin mushroom. And the idea that the African savanna is just full of these mushrooms, and the thought of like some kind of very low intelligence level primate just going around knowing that if they flip these, shit patties over, that they could find stuff underneath them and eat them, like grubs or what have you, that wouldn't be that crazy. Like we see monkeys do that now. And
yeah, when you think about like now we have cheese, like why would we even do that? So why wouldn't we flip over a pile of shit and eat the mushrooms off of it?
You ever tried them?
Oh, yeah.
Mushrooms? I can't get high on them. I tried it twice. I passed out both times.
That's crazy. Right? I've got a friend who's like completely immune to most hallucinogens.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
Maybe you just have a better brain than us.
Or a worse one. I like that idea is just because it explains some of these weird things that are on the planet. Like psilocybin mushrooms or marijuana is just a weird fucking thing.
Right.
The coca plant. There's this whole fucking forest in Utah that's got these trees called the pando trees. And they started digging, and whenever they get down, they realize that the root structures are all connected. And not like connected, like intertwined, like a snake, but like they're all the same fucking root. It's one organism. The whole fucking forest is one.
Whoa.
And it's old as fuck. 80,000 years old, dude.
Damn.
A living organism that is 80,000 years old. And it's like literally the whole forest is just one thing. Like, I mean, shit like that. I need answers from someone to explain crazy shit like that to me. You know what I mean? I love watching. We were talking about Neil deGrasse Tyson earlier. I love all the science guys and Bill Nye and Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and Dan Dennett. Like all these people that were like, yeah, this is our theme. We like this stuff, but I feel like they're leaving out some of the crazy shit that's going on. So that's why sometimes I like turning to someone like Terrence McKenna, who I know is a nut. The guy fried his brain. I get it. But it seems like it's only the nuts, the crazies, that are actually addressing some of the stuff that just nobody else can explain, how your mind can really just go into a different fucking universe almost. It's like you go into a different dimension mentally, and people that haven't experienced these alternative forms of consciousness don't know what the fuck we're talking about. They really don't. They're like, no, your brain's just fucked up. You're not thinking straight. It's like, well, yeah, but it's more than that, man. You can say I'm not thinking straight whenever I'm trying some kind of psychotropic substance. Sure, that's fair, but my consciousness changes. What I'm experiencing is a different thing. In the same way that whenever you wake up from a dream that you really believed was real, and now you're here and you're like, oh, well, that wasn't real. Yeah, well, you thought it was at the time, and everybody's thought, well, what if this is a dream? When you were a kid, that was one of the first times that you started questioning reality, was after waking up from a really great dream or even a nightmare, either way. And you're just like, how do I know this shit's not fake? Because I thought that other shit was real. Psychotropic substances, I think, do the same thing, as they start to make you question your reality.
Right.
I feel like maybe you and I, we have that in common, where we're finding basic level empiricism coming up short a little bit and explaining some of the crazier stuff in the universe. and maybe that's why you go alien route in the same way, like maybe some people might go religious.
I think it was influenced a lot by being raised Christian, and there's like they just expect you to accept this story, but like there's so many unanswered questions there.
I've heard that one where the aliens have been trying to communicate to us, and they have been influencing different people in our past, and those were the religious leaders. Those were the Gandhis. Those were Christ, Muhammad. Those people were actually aliens, or at least influenced by aliens, and trying to get the message of love and peace out. And they just keep screwing it up, though, because each time it turns into something violent and we twist it.
When they say absolute power corrupts absolutely, but I think even a tiny bit of power corrupts. It's just like with all the cults that you see, it might start out good, but then it ends up everybody takes advantage of it.
I always wanted to try being a cult leader, just for the ability to fuck everybody's wife. That's what they always do. It's always, every single time you find out it's about sex, except for those, what was that one, Heaven's Gate? They might be giving each other hand jobs on the side, but they didn't seem to have anything real weird other than just killing themselves.
I think they like castrated themselves.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, I believe that was part of it. They were trying to fully emulate.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, Rob. They castrated themselves? So they weren't fucking at all.
Right.
Jeez. So in a way, I was right. So how about Area 51?
Well, I think they could have at one point had some alien technology there, but I think it's probably just like our black projects, where they tried to develop their own flying saucers. I mean, if they ever had aliens there, they definitely don't have it now, because like everybody knows about it now.
You're referencing Bob Lazar, right?
Yeah, they learned from their mistake with Area 51.
Tell everybody about Bob Lazar, just in case they haven't heard about this guy yet, because it really is a fascinating story. And I'll be honest, I don't believe a lot of this shit like you, Rob, but once I saw that documentary, I'll be honest, I'm halfway through and I'm just thinking, this sounds legit as fuck. It's on Netflix. It's Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. Came out last year. It just got popularized because Lazar goes on to Rogan, talks about it. That gets a lot of attention. And then that's what caused all these people going to Area 51 and trying to show up and flip out. It's all because of this dude. Anyway, tell him his story, just in case they hadn't heard it.
As he was an engineering prodigy, he built a jet engine and attached it to his car. That got the attention of some government guys or whatever, and they kind of recruited him to work on this secret project where, as Lazar claims, he's reverse engineering alien spaceship power generators.
You are ruining this story, Rob. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so this guy is a freaking genius. He's actually highly intelligent, is not somebody that you would expect to be deceitful or sneaky. I mean, even in the documentary, they have his wife come on and she's like, he's been like this his whole life. I mean, if he's would he lie to his wife for his entire marriage? Would he lie to his children? Is he lying to everybody in our family? He believes it, at least, Very believable guy, very intelligent guy, puts a fucking jet engine rocket on his car. Like Rob said, it gets the attention of some military higher ups. I think it was some NASA stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Originally. And they take him into this freaking bunker, make him sign all this stuff, do all these tests on him. And as he's walking past this room, he sees this little child through the crack of the door. It had a large head and it looked kind of alien-like. And they take him to this other room. And, maybe it was just a kid. He even says, I'm not saying I saw an alien. I'm just telling you what I saw. And it's, freaked me out my entire life. And the guy totally regrets being a whistleblower about this because he's like, I just wish I could still be working on this technology because the technology is just so amazing that I would have kept it a secret. I would have stayed silent just for the opportunity to be able to work on amazing stuff. It kind of makes you wonder, oh, well, maybe that is a reason that people would stay silent about this if they're not like him and they didn't just go blab in their mouth. But anyway, so they take him to this other room. There's this, how would you describe it? The gravity machine?
I think you described it as a kind of a tube cylinder thing with a dome over it.
Yeah, so he starts working on this thing and he says that it pushes away. So it's like reverse gravity. We've actually produced a lot of technology from the stuff that they were working on. I know anybody listening to this, that sounds crazy. And it is. But if you watch the documentary, I think you'll find it to be kind of a little more convincing than I expected it to be. I'll be honest.
Yeah, and a lot of people try to brush off things like that, like, oh, he's just trying to be famous. But like, you think about it, he kind of destroyed his life. Everybody knows about him, and everybody thinks of him as the crazy alien guy. That can't be helpful.
He still has agents showing up at his house all the time. Agents, not Asians. Did I say Asians? He's got a bunch of Chinese people showing up. But no, yeah, they still show up and like will go through and tear his house up to this day. So what is it that they're, why would they do that if he wasn't saying something that had some validity? I don't think he's necessarily telling the truth, but just that they don't like what he's saying is fascinating enough to me to listen.
Right. Yeah, it really seems like throughout the whole timeline of aliens in the United States, like if it was nothing, then it would just be brushed off. But like the military made a whole division just to address this problem.
You don't think it was just, all this happened right around the Cold War. We were just bringing this kind of stuff up to make the Russians distracted so that we could keep working on nuclear weapons without having to explain ourselves?
I don't know. I think that gives us, our government, too much credit.
Well, I mean, they do keep some shit secret for a while.
Right. I think we've gotten better over the years about it. But I mean, it's kind of an interesting origin story. When you talk about aliens, most people think about Roswell. Like, there's been many more before that. See, in 1889, there was some pretty weird stuff going on. Minnesota, I think, was the first sighting in that time period. Like, it wasn't just some people in this town saw something. It started on the East Coast, and people from state to state to state, one after another, were reporting that they saw this mysterious airship, way before even the first airplanes were invented. It culminated in Aurora, Texas. The people of this town claim that something fell out of the sky, and it fell in some guy's garden, destroyed his windmill. The excuse is that it was just mass hysteria. It was brought on by, Jules Verne's sci-fi, and that becoming super popular, and everybody's into it. So everybody's got overactive imagination. That doesn't seem very likely to me. Communication just wasn't what it is today. It seems very unlikely that all these people in different towns, in different states, would have the same hysteria.
The idea of flying saucers, or at least UFOs, we've always had that. I mean, they had, the Mayans had little structures that they had made out of clay of like airplanes and UFOs and different things that look like they could fly around, look like spaceships and flying saucers and stuff like that, which in a way could lead to validate your point in some ways. But it's also, I don't think the fact that it was happening at that time in different states is all that bizarre, because it's been happening forever. I mean, even in the Bible, it talks about everything kind of celestial and magical and beautiful is always going up into the clouds. Or what was it? Was it Isaiah? What was his name?
Ezekiel, I think.
Yeah. Or was it Ezekiel that was like going up in a chariot or something?
I think Ezekiel was walking down a road and saw some. I think he was the one that called it a wheel within a wheel.
Yeah. It seems like it's been going on for a long time.
That's kind of like what got me started on the ancient alien theory, was actually the Simpsons episode where they're at church and everybody falls asleep and has a dream about, a Bible story. Homer falls asleep and dreams that he's Adam and Marge is Eve, and Ned, of course, is God. So it's represented as a cloud with an arm coming out of it. And like, just seeing that symbolism, it was like, hey, what if God is an alien?
That would explain some commonalities throughout all of our different religions. Common stories, virgin births, 12 followers, miracles.
Like the Central American tribes had their religion started, they describe a knife cutting through the sky and piercing the earth, and all their gods come out of it. Sounds kind of like aliens to me. My personal theory is that maybe one group of aliens, maybe a couple of different groups of aliens came down and posed as gods, or we just thought they were gods and they let us think that. You try to examine all the different religions, and it all like there's so many similarities that it really could be just one group of alien guys traveling from country to country.
Well, you say TV got you thinking that maybe this could be the case, but it's actually TV, or more specifically like movies, is what made me give up on aliens altogether. Just because I looked at aliens being represented in movies before the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. They were always mechanical. They were always machine. It was always robots, right? Destroying the world. There was like this common theme of this big, giant robotic threat because everybody was afraid of, machines. Everybody was afraid of the new technology. It was moving pretty fast. Close Encounters of the Third Kind comes out, and they've got these little short gray dudes with big heads, no mouth, no dicks, and everybody starts seeing that alien. Like all the reports of alien abductees are describing this movie Alien. And then E.T. comes out and, oh, what a surprise. It's the same goddamn alien. X-Files. It's been the same image all this time and all of our culture, all because of this one damn movie. And that to me, just the power of culture and the power of music or entertainment or film, it's just mind-blowing to me because it changed everybody's perception of what aliens are. Anytime I hear that description of it was a flying saucer and it was a little short gray alien, I go, you're just saying that because that's what everybody tells you is what it is. So whenever you think of something that you're afraid of, you apply that to it the same way they used to apply their fear of technology to aliens. Or you have a problem, you have some kind of sleep paralysis. The next day you're like, something really bad happened to me. I couldn't get out of bed and I saw an alien. I'm like, yeah, what did it look like? It was short with a big head and it was gray. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's a movie, man. So I'm not saying all of, the alien thing is false. I'm just saying that image of that alien, even the one that Bob Lazar was referencing, is all based on a goddamn movie. And nobody's talking about this.
It's kind of like a cycle that feeds itself.
Yes.
Did the symbol come first, or you could kind of trace all of those themes back to the god Moloch. He was represented by an owl, and it's a common thing when people talk about abductions that they saw an owl outside of their room, and these creatures come in that kind of look owl-like, the huge eyes and the gray skin. We've been hallucinating this forever, and it's just kind of evolved into abduction scenarios. I fully accept that alien abductions are probably bullshit.
My in-laws actually believe in witches. There's this Hispanic story of, I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, but lechuza, and it is this giant black bird that'll like show up at your house, but it's really a woman. She's just, making herself look like a bird because she's a witch and she has special powers. And I had heard this reference a couple times, just Thanksgiving dinner or whatever. So I finally asked my father-in-law, and he says, oh yeah, I saw one once. It just dawns on me. I'm like, oh my God, these people believe in giant bird witches. Like nobody's talking about this. Like, this would be if I believed in that, I would never stop talking about it.
Right.
Like anytime I talk to just a random coworker or someone, and they're like, yeah, I believe in ghosts. I saw one once. Dude, you got to solve this mystery. You're saying all of physics changed in this one moment? This would be the most important thing in my life. What are you doing at work right now? Why are you doing anything other than investing 100% of your time into figuring out this ghost mystery? They're just like, yeah, I believe it. I think a lot of people are kind of passé about some of their beliefs as opposed to others. And I get that impression with you too, where you're like, I like the idea of it. It's highly probable that there's lots of aliens out there. Abductions are probably bullshit. Ancient alien stuff about, making the pyramids. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I like thinking about it. Like, it doesn't seem like you really believe it. You just think it's probable and it's badass.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to start a church of ET and then slaughter your family if you don't believe in Elliot.
Chop your dick off. You got to castrate yourself so that you're not.
Yeah.
You're not raping all your members. That's what's his name was doing from Waco, Koresh. He was fucking everybody's wife. It's so crazy. That's what every single time it starts off. They're like, "Hey, follow me. I've got the path," and it always ends up they got their dick in your wife.
Right?
I mean, you know, some of these guys, these cucks. I don't think that's the first time the word cuck has been on the show. The word cuckold has been on a bunch of times. Hector Garcia wrote that awesome book, Alpha God, and then he did a political one, Sex, Power, and Partisanship. And I think he's coming out with a third one too. He was referencing cuckoldry a lot and how that kind of defines our patriarchal culture that we have now, you know, controlling women's sexuality. But anyway, you got to think, like, at some point, one of these guys watching his wife get banged by somebody that said they were Jesus has got to start thinking like, I don't believe this shit. And what do you do at that point? You know, like, you might as well just go with it. Anyway, man, we better wrap it up. You were great, man. I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you. I really had a good time. And
thank you for being a patron. It's crazy to me to think that anybody would find value in this. You know, like, I know that's fucked up to say, but like, I find value in it because it's mine. Nobody can tell me what to do. And I get to address the topics and talk to the people that I find important and valuable. But the fact that someone else finds value in it, it's often surprising to me, to be honest, because I would do it if I didn't have any listeners. I'd still do it, you know, because I enjoy it.
I think it's definitely needed. Like, it's so easy online when you get into these arguments. You're just like, oh, screw you. You disagree with me. I'm not going to be able to convince you otherwise. But to like get these people captive and like force them to confront each other, it's exactly what we need. It's like, especially with the gun debate, you can just say, oh, you believe this and that's stupid. And the other side is like, oh, you believe this and that's stupid. And we're not coming to any solutions here. You know, force people to confront it, stay on it. Then we get to the root of it, get towards an actual, you know, compromise.
And what a lot of people don't know, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of these, it wasn't in the gun debate though, because those two guys are very nice guys. Lots of times I'll actually edit out a lot of a conversation in a debate where people are just losing it. And, you know, and I'll just be like, all right, hey, hold on. No, let's get back together. What is our goal here? Our goal is communication. Our goal is respect. Let's start over. Nobody ever hears a lot of that stuff, unless the point of it is to show how crazy this conversation is. Like the one with Felicia and Free Thought Prophets. I wanted to show the hyperbole of that. The whole atheist community is just divided about all the Me Too stuff, or Ben Fama insultingly devastating some other person about their political conspiracy theories. You know, like the whole point is to get a laugh out of it, you know? But yeah, a lot of people don't know that it's actually, these peaceful conversations are not always that peaceful. A lot of that's edited out.
Yeah, I went back and forth, like, do I really want to go on and make myself the alien conspiracy guy? But then I listened to the, the flat earth guy and about how space is fake. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not the most ridiculous guest he's had.
No, not at all. And like some of the shows I don't even air because they're just so awful. I had a lizard guy that believed in lizard people. He called them dragons and said they were scaly and evil and deceptive, living underneath the earth and controlling our politics and making themselves.
So he was full on like David.
Yes, he was all in. But the problem is he was so fucking crazy that the conversation was just unlistenable. I mean, even while I was trying to edit it, I was just like, I can't just sit here listening to this. This is just so nuts. Like the guy had to have some kind of mental thing. Or now I feel bad if he's listening, but I don't think he was healthy. He was a nice guy though, but he had some kind of mental health thing going on. I had to. I can't explain it any other way because
listening to too many David Icke lectures.
Yeah, is that how you say it? Icke.
I think so.
I always thought it was icky, but that sounds dumb. So you're probably right. It's probably Ike. But yeah, there's been a couple like that I just said I'm not even going to air this. I've got a whole file just full of these random episodes that I never put out.
Yeah, that might be a good idea to have like a worst of thing.
Maybe to do at least one episode compilation of all the shit I never showed you guys.
Right. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that. I'm like, I think
so. I don't think anybody wanted to hear that shit.
I love behind the scenes.
Rob, thank you so much for your patronage, and thank you so much for just having a good time talking with me today, man. I really enjoyed this.
Well, thank you for fighting for the right to reason.
So corny.
Do you like violence? Wanna see me stick 9-inch nails to each one of my eyelids?
Thank you to Rob Montgomery. Thank you to all our other patrons. I would like to send a special shout out to Kelly Clemenson, who is a Christian and has also decided to support this broadcast. And that means the world to me. If you hear that and you don't understand why that means so much, then you don't understand what this show is all about, and you don't understand the unrelenting character of Mr. Clemenson and his support for the open marketplace of ideas. So thank you, Kelly, and to everyone else, you also can support this broadcast at patreon.com/right and learn more at therighttoreason.com. Next week, I'll be talking to Dan Arrell about his new book, Parenting Without God. Between now and then, remember that you have the right to reason. And Seamus from the Free Thought Prophet decided to stop by and help us out with our closing segment today. Thanks, Seamus. You can find him on YouTube. Hit it, brother.